Hey guys, this is Adrian from Blitz Kids, and today we're going to be going over overloaded pieces. I got the mic hooked up, so hopefully the audio is a little bit better for you guys. So an overworked or overloaded piece is basically when one piece actually has multiple duties and cannot cover all of his or her duties. So, for example, in this one, it says that this F7 pawn, I like to highlight the enemy in red. Um, the F7 pawn right here has two duties. It has to watch over the G6 knight and also has to watch over the E6 bishop. But if we're playing the white pieces, we have two different pieces actually targeting both different squares. So if we play bishop takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes e6, then boom, white goes up a piece. So we win 3 points there. Where this is just a regular trade, well, now that the f pawn is removed from the defense of e6, the rook can just capture. All right. Volume's a little loud and there. All right. So it didn't show, but if he recaptured, then yeah, we would just win another piece. All right, so the main thing to really look for here is you want to look for two different threats that you can create. And if it's defended by the same piece, then you can diverge it somewhere else and then go and make the other threat work. So for instance, in this position we have, I mean, everybody can see this threat, right? Queen to h7, checkmate. But the problem here is the knight on f6 is guarding that guy, that square. So if the knight's guarding on h7, well, we have to diverge this knight. That's our main objective. Make this guy go away. All right. So here, if we play pawn to d7, here goes the second threat where we fork the enemy rook on c8 and e8. And our opponent, the only way he could satisfy that position is if he just captures here. Now, there is a little bit of calculation here. So, like, first off, if d7, then knight takes d7. Ooh, excuse me. That's not how the knight hops. Knight takes d7. Then we play queen to h7. That's checkmate. So that's the easy calculation, right? But if d7, well, what happens if our opponent plays something like rook c to d8 or rook e to d8, pinning the pawn, this one, pinning the pawn to the queen. So if d7, rook c to d8, d takes e8 equals queen, then we can have rook takes d3. But now, after I just move the queen out of the way, then one, I'm going to have pressure on the rook, and two, I'm still up that queen. So I win a rook here, just period. Okay, so that's really good. So I'm going to go ahead and play d7. One thing to even note is move order. So that's the key thing here. Whatever threat that you have that is bigger, you want to save that one for last. So what is a bigger threat? Winning some material or checkmating the enemy king? I'll let you think about it. All right, pretty simple, right? The checkmate on h7 is the biggest threat because that's checkmate. That's the end of the game. So we want to save this one or reserve this one for last. So instead, we play this threat first, and that will kind of help you with the move order because sometimes it doesn't work with if you have the wrong move order. For example, if I play queen h7 first, then after knight takes f7, yes, we have a fork here, but we lost the queen to a rook, basically. And because after d7, we're going to win the rook back, but we lost the queen and the pawn that goes with it. So we wouldn't win any material there. So move order is key here. All right, nice. All right, so this one, it has at the bottom, I know you guys can't see it, but it says, in this example, the h7 pawn has two responsibilities. Oh, it actually gives you a big hint. All right, so can you exploit the situation? Go ahead and pause your videos and see if you can come up with this answer. All right, so this one is a bit tricky. Basically, h7 does have the responsibility of watching over g6 and pushing the pawn forward. So if we could just kind of remove this guy, that would be good. So I know this is kind of tricky, but bishop to h5, more of an endgame tactic. You won't really have this tactic in the middle game. But yeah, this endgame tactic here, bishop to h5, and if the pawn were to recapture, then we would play g6, and then we would see that h7, the square, is no longer defended. So then I would just push forward and make a queen, and it's unstoppable. All right, so that's why our opponent plays bishop to e6. Here we're just gonna capture because it's a free pawn, and we'll capture the second pawn. And it goes on for a little bit, but I mean, we just kind of continue making progress. All right, let's look at this one. All right, so it's white to move, and can you find the overloaded piece? Pause your videos. All right, so if you found that the queen is actually overloaded, she has two duties. She's watching over the c8 square and also watching over the e7 square. We could definitely take advantage of that by playing rook takes e7, playing the bigger threat first, and I'll just go back real quick. So this is actually the wrong move. We don't want to play the bigger threat first. We want to play the smaller threat first. So like rook takes e7, queen takes e7, because we're threatening to win basically 3 points. Whereas if we play queen c8, we're trying to go for that checkmate, that back rank mate there. So of course, back rank mate is, you know, more it's more dangerous, more lethal. So that's why we play this one first. See, if we play queen to c8, this is going to be wrong. So just to show you, yeah, I don't know if you guys heard that noise, but it's nope, wrong, wrong move type of noise. So rook takes e7 and then queen to c8. All right, so here this one's actually fairly easy. Go ahead and pause your video and see if you can come up with the right answer. All right, so in this position, you want to look at all of your pieces, all of your checks. That's, you know, another tip that you can use. Rook takes f7. We have queen to d7, and that we have, you know, bishop checks. These bishop checks are a bit silly because the bishop is actually guarding two key dark squares, f6 and d6. So we don't want to move that either. So it's just about move order, witnessing the threat. So, okay, we have a big threat here and a big threat here. Like, we see that. But now we got to get down the move order. And we always play the less threatening move. Then we play the strong. We follow it up with the strong move. So here, this king has to defend here on d7 and f7. It's just not going to work out. So we play rook takes f7, winning a pawn. Then we win the rook. So rook takes f7. Queen check. All right, and then technically we don't really have to go through this, but yeah, this is going to be the move here. We also got to consider queen takes e6, but I do believe that this is going to lead to some more material loss. One moment. No, 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 no. We also have this check. That's why you got to look at all your checks. So queen takes g7 and wins another pawn, gets the king more unsafe. Right now, I'm just calculating if queen takes e6. Queen takes e6, then maybe knight f6. Yeah, it's queen takes g7 here, for sure. Alright, in this position, it is white to move, and this is a very famous game. This is Garry Kasparov versus Karpov, and this one, I believe, one of the grandmasters actually missed this tactic. Alright, so go ahead and pause your videos. Alright, so if you pause your videos and you actually found out the answer, great job. This one is pretty difficult because you have to see multiple steps ahead. So we're just looking for double attacks. And it doesn't look like anything here. But there is a discovered attack combined with this theme. So we have pressure on d7 with queen takes d7. And after the rook recaptures, then we can have rook to e8 check, forcing the king to go to h7. And then now this rook is eyeballing this rook on d7. So that means we can play a discovered attack with bishop to e4 check, pawn to g6, and then rook takes d7. And if you guys notice that, then we're in a really good position because then the bishop here is under attack, and the rook can soon put some pressure here. Oh, I put it in red. I meant green. So we could put pressure here on the c6 knight, and then once he runs away, maybe we can even bring back this rook to f7. So we have a lot of good stuff. And yeah, you just have another double attack there whenever we're in the ending position. So it looks like I made some artwork on my chessboard. So let me go ahead and clear that. All right, so the move here, queen takes d7, rook to e8, bishop to e4, and now rook takes. And whenever we play rook takes, I'm going to hover over it. I don't want it to move on to the next one. Whenever we play rook takes, you know, we have this pressure on b7, as I was saying, and then maybe we can even force this other piece to the c6 knight to move out of the way as well. So this is just a really good position for white. All right, so go ahead and pause your videos and see if you guys can come up with this one. This one's going to be our last one. All right. So the move here, the overloaded piece here is the f7 pawn. The f7 pawn is watching on e6 and g6. So if we play queen takes, looks like everything's fine and dandy because we didn't have pressure on g6. But the secondary threat is that we're actually able to move down the board, and there's no way to stop it. See here, the only move you could play is queen takes f7. All right, and then yeah, this is that move. All right guys, thanks. If you want some more you know, practice, then definitely go over to lichess.org and go over the learn tab, and in the learn tab it's going to be practice. Once you click the practice button, it will ask you which theme do you want to go over, which theme do you want to play, and they have, you know, the discovery attacks, they have the forks, pins, skewers, and also overloaded pieces. So remember, if you have multiple chores, it's good to do them one at a time. You know, so if you have to clean your room, wash the dishes, and maybe even pick up your clothes, you know, do some laundry, you have to do them one at a time. You can't do all three all at once. So that's basically what the overloaded theme is about, is whenever one piece has to do multiple functions and cannot sufficiently defend all of them. All right, guys. Well, bye.